Happy Friday.
Happy
Hi, Chris.
Friday.
Happy Friday. Let me play with the overlay for a minute. I don't like that one as much as this one. Here we go. All right, awesome. Oh my goodness. It is Friday. It's the Friday before the holidays. We are both busy. How are you? Breathing still?
Still breathing. Had
Awesome.
a bunch of good meetings with people that are planning for 2025. So really good.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
How about you?
Same. I've got a couple clients onboarding starting June. I mean, starting June. Well, that would be nice too, but
Mhm.
January, starting January. So just more onboarding than starting coaching at this time of year is a little bit challenging. So onboarding for January,
Nice.
which
Sounds
is
good.
good. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's good to have business, right?
Always. So
Okay. So starting, and talking about business, where do you want to leap in today around financial advising and
yeah, I
money?
mean, I think a lot of people are in a unique position at the end of the year because everyone's got finances on the mind. Whether it's, man, I got to make sure that I get everything buttoned up so I can do my taxes when January hits, or if it's, oh, I got to get my finances all figured out because I got a lot of spending that I'm going to be doing here in December with travel and presents and whatnot. Or whether people are just looking at 2025 and being like, I want this to be my most successful year financially speaking, and I've got financial goals that I want to hit in 2025.
Yeah.
So everyone's kind of, whoever you are, whatever scenario you're in, it tends to be that the holidays and the end of the year bring a lot of people together to want to try and put together a financial plan.
Yeah, and a lot of that is because we're looking back and reflecting on what we did and didn't do. And
Yeah.
so with my clients, when I say look back at 2024, what were your highlights? And then I ask them, what were your lowlights? Like, where were you being a weenie, right? And how are we going to change that for 2025? And finances is always one of them.
Yep.
Budgeting, saving, whatever that looks like for them, like you said, it is a topic that comes up almost every single time I ask that question.
Yeah. Well, it's an important thing. And my question to you, and I'm going to put you on the spot, what percentage of your income should you save?
I don't know about the should save. I do always put 20% of my income away for taxes. And then I'm not sure exactly what the percentage is. However, I do save a minimum of $2,000 a month.
Okay.
So
So,
if you're going to ask me to be personal, that's what
okay.
I do. Okay.
All right. Well, so a rule of thumb,
Thank you,
20%.
AB.
Bing.
Yep.
There you go. AB just said it.
Yep.
20% is the goal that you should personally be saving towards your financial plan
Mm-hmm.
every single month. And every single year, as much as you can, sticking to that 20% minimum. And I know that some people might not have that ability based on expenses and all of that. But if you're not there, that should be your benchmark. And if you are there and maybe you slip every time, every now and then,
Yep.
goal should be to try to do that as your minimum. And I've been kind of interacting with this a lot recently is what is your minimum? Like everyone has goals, like what are you shooting for? But what is your minimum that you'll do no matter what?
Right. And yes, AB, for clarity, that is true. And so since you put me on the spot, I do put 20% away for taxes every month, and I am just shy of 20%.
Okay.
I'm very close to it,
Okay.
but not quite there. So yeah, I'm feeling pretty proud. How about you, AB? Yeah. Keep going. I interrupted you. Keep going. But yeah,
No.
that's a great benchmark.
Yeah. So at the end of the day, like as you're starting to build out your financial plan, start with what you can contribute to your financial plan. What
Right.
is, as I'm sitting down and I'm going through my finances, what is the, like pulling your head out of the sand, what is the thing that is actually occurring? How
Right.
much am I saving? How much am I spending? You have to know where you are to know where you want to go.
And some people don't know where there are. So I'm not going to call out names, but I have a client and I have been there. So I won't call something out if I haven't been in those shoes. Now it's been a while since I've been there, but I do remember a time when I was a full-time real estate agent and I made a bunch of money one year and my coach asked me, where did your money go? Because I spent it all.
Yep.
Yeah. And I didn't know. I had no clue. And so I have a client I coached this week. It's like, I made a lot of money this year and I have no idea where it went because it's not in my bank. Let me answer AB real quick. No, AB, we can't hear you. You only can type. Next time you can get on the show and then you can talk with us. All right, so go ahead. So yeah, so some people don't have no clue where their money went. They're not telling it where to go, right? It's just disappearing. So how do you help somebody with that?
So this is the great part about this time of the year. Everyone's going to be sitting down at some point in time and interacting with their W-2 or with their balance sheet for their business and putting together the documentation that they have to submit to their tax person, their CPA, or if they're doing their taxes themselves. Because you're going to be doing that, I would encourage you already have all the documents out, you already have it all at your fingertips. Look at how much you brought in, and then go ahead and take a look at your bank accounts. How much did I save this year? If I brought in 200,000 and I noticed that I have only 2,000 more than what I started with last year, that's a problem. That's 1%.
Right.
Right. So then we want to sit down and say, okay, well, where did that money all go?
Right. And then, yes. Yeah.
And just like they say, if you don't tell it where to go, you're going to wonder where it went.
Right. And a lot of people have no clue where it went. And then, yes. And then a lot of this, again, I'm going to go into the coaching realm for people to actually go back and look. For some people, I don't want to speak in general. I'm just speaking in general. For some people, they have a hard time going back and looking because then there's shame, there's guilt. And I don't want, there's no shame or blame. There's only learning, but we have to reframe because otherwise it's like pulling teeth to get them to look back and see, well, where did it go?
So here's the thing. There's no judgment on what has occurred. Right? There's not even judgment on what will occur. There is just what is, and there is what will be. And if we're not willing to see what is occurring and measure what's occurring, there's no way that we can change or grow in the future.
Correct. Yeah. I just did a workshop yesterday and asked everybody again that question, like, what are your lowlights? And where were you being a weenie that you want to, grow some courage around? We got to be able to admit it so that we can then create steps to grow that muscle. And it's not a 6-pack ab overnight, right? We've got to just start making baby steps towards whatever that is. And again, yesterday, a lot of it was around money.
And a lot of the time it is at the end of the year, right?
Yeah.
So the question is, what is occurring? And what do we want to change? What do we want to do better next year? And then what do we want to accomplish next year, right? Maybe it's buying a house. Maybe it's buying a car. Maybe it's, investing more.
Yeah, investing more. Yeah.
Right? So where do we start? What we start with is sitting down and saying, okay, I make X, Y, Z, right? Me, my partner, we make this collaboratively. Me, myself, I make this, whatever it is. This is what's coming in. This is what's going out every single month. This is the differential. I have X amount of extra money, and I usually go ahead and I spend 90% of it on shopping sprees. Wonderful. Okay, what can we change? What are we willing to sacrifice now to have a better future? Because we can only work with what we're willing to work with.
Yeah.
And I would ask you to go ahead and stand in front of the mirror. I know this is going to sound a little frou-frou
woo-wee
or whatever. Yeah, woo-woo.
Okay.
Stand in front of the mirror and picture yourself, what you would look like when you are 10 years from now, 20 years from now.
Do I have to really see what I look like?
Think about what you'll look like.
Okay.
And then have a conversation with that person.
Yeah.
And say, what do I want to be doing? Because the thing that makes it hard to save for the future is that we don't actually picture ourselves in the future.
I agree.
They
And
did
some
it.
people have a hard time doing that, especially if they're specific, right? And so,
Yeah.
yes, I do. For my clients, I word it a little bit differently, but it means the exact same thing, Chris. For my clients, I ask them to sit in a chair, close their eyes, and have a conversation with their 108-year-old self.
Mhm. They actually did a study where they took people and they took a picture, they put a VR headset on, and they sat them down and had a conversation with themselves as an older person. So
Yep,
they digitally made them look older, sat down and had a conversation with themselves. And after that conversation, people were way more inclined to save and to do things now that were financially harder to live a better life in the future because they could actually connect
absolutely.
with themselves.
Yep. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I totally believe that. When I connect with my 108-year-old self, I normally get emotional, which has helped me a lot with my health goals this year.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Because
works.
you don't want to, and at the end of the day, do you want to sit down in 30 years from now and look at what's around you and what you're capable of doing and where you're able to go on vacations or what you're able to do for your grandkids or whoever it might be? Do you want to sit down in 30 years and open up your Apple Zigaphone, whatever they're going to have it, right? iPhone 37X
There you go.
on your hologram of a headpiece or whatever,
Right,
and not have the money to do it in your account.
right.
Do you want to be limited or do you want to be in the future empowered?
Well, I want the second option.
There you go.
And I want to play with my grandkids, right?
Yeah.
Or let all the parents go away on vacation and then play with my grandkids and not have to worry about how I'm going to feed them or we can't go to the zoo kind of thing.
Mhm.
Whatever that is for me. All right. But everybody needs to connect with their why, right?
Yeah.
And
And
yeah,
when you look at that and then you look at what's occurring today, it's not like you don't get to live the life that you want to live right now. It literally could be $100. Maybe you don't buy a third purse. Maybe you don't buy that second pair of shoes that you don't really need. Maybe you eat at home 2 days out of the month instead of going out and you save that extra $100 or extra
right,
$200 or whatever it might be. And you could lock that in because it's not big steps today, it's small steps today that climb the mountain in the future.
right. No, and I agree. And again, one of my biggest changes a couple of years ago, I used to eat out almost every single meal when I was a corporate coach. I think most of my lunches I bought out. And then at some point, I made that switch and started bringing my lunches, and it made a
Mhm.
huge dent. Same thing with buying lattes. I used to buy lattes when I was a real estate agent. So this was many, 15, 20 years ago. I'd buy lattes every day, sometimes twice a day. Now I treat myself once a week.
Mhm.
Yep.
It's crazy how you can, if you sit down and you plan like this and you really get real with yourself, like what's occurring, you can change your trajectory with a very small, insignificant change. And if
Yep.
you're in a corporate job, you're in a W-2, that change could literally change if you wanted to adjust $100 in your 401k, because it's pre-tax dollars, that actually impacts you less than $100. So people don't realize I won't even feel the difference when I get my paycheck. Here's the thing. Humans are built to finish things, not in the sense of like completing tasks, but if I gave you a bowl of chips that was this big, you would want to finish it. If I give you a bowl of chips that's this
I
big,
knew
you
where
try
you
to
were
finish
going
it.
with that. Yep.
You would try to finish it.
Sure.
And so here's the thing. If that's the case, if you allow your money to come into your account and you see $5,000 all of a sudden in your account, your instinct as a human being is, I want to use that money. But if you change something and you only allow 3,000 of those dollars to go into your account, you're only going to try to spend $3,000.
Yep.
You're going to act like the other 2,000 don't exist. So
I
how can you
agree.
separate it out? How can you
Yep.
automatically make it seem like it doesn't exist?
Right. You got to, and so for me, I'll answer that question. For me, when I get, when I get paid, it all goes into one account, and obviously I have to pay my mortgage and pay my immediate bills. I immediately put money into taxes, and I immediately put that money into savings. And then sometimes I put in more, depending on bonuses. Like in December, I got a bonus, and then I always leave extra, because I want to be able to buy some toys or go buy that second purse, not the third one. Although I'm not a purse lady, so it wouldn't be a purse. So yes, but to your point, I always spend the extra.
So let me actually challenge you.
Oh no, here we go.
Here we go. Yeah. So Tanya, you said, tell me again, describe when the money comes in, where does the money go?
It goes into my business checking account. When I get paid, it all goes into my business checking account.
Okay. And then from there,
I pay what I need for my bills, like my mortgage, my utilities, insurance goes into my personal checking.
Okay.
And then I have a tax account.
Yeah. So
and then I have my savings account that it goes. So all my buckets start getting paid.
Got it. So throwing this out there, how come it doesn't go into the savings first?
Well, it all happens in the same day. So I'm not. So yes, it does. My tax account and my savings account. Like I put the 2,000 away. I put the 20% into my tax account. It all happens.
So,
together.
But let me throw this out there. Your mentality is all my money goes into checking, and then from checking it goes into saving.
Oh, so you're saying how come when I get paid it doesn't all go into savings?
How come it doesn't all go into savings, and then you pay into the other accounts? Because then the trickle down effect happens, right? Let's be really super specific, okay? $5,248.36 goes into your checking account. Then we give 2,000 to taxes. We put 3,000 into your other funnels that are on your personal side. That leftover money, even if it comes down to $1.32, stays in your checking account, which eventually gets spent.
Correct. Well, almost, yes.
Can you imagine the trickle down effect if that was in a savings account instead?
Yes, I can. Yes, and I'm thinking, how come I've never done it that way? Now, to be a little bit more specific, since I'm being so transparent on the internet, there is only a certain amount for extra. So like I say, sometimes if there's like, let's just say there's $800 and it's like, wow, I got a bonus because I coach for a company that gave me my executives that I got a bonus from, right? That bonus went into savings. It wasn't my extra to spend. So I am disciplined enough to know that I'm going to have maybe like $300 to play with. I don't let it become 500 or 600. If there's extra, and I know you know this because you can see my plan, the extra then goes into my savings. So 1 month it might be 2,500. Yeah. But no, it never has gone directly into my savings. That's never happened. That wasn't how I was taught.
And that's the difference between, think about it like you're putting rocks into a glass of water, right? You pick a rock off the floor, you put it in to the glass of water. The rock is probably covered in some sort of dirt. When you take the rocks out of the bowl of water, you now have all the sediment on the bottom. That's what we're talking about. There's residual money that people are spending and it all adds up. But because you put it into your checking, it adds up in your checking and eventually you go use that to go buy a coffee.
Sure.
But if you did it on the flip side and you put it all into your savings and then you transferred and you paid yourself out from the savings, the trickle effect of those extra dollars, those extra cents builds up in your savings and actually amplifies the money that you have saved. And it's simple little habits like that. It's like the reason that Robinhood or those apps that are out there that peel off the dollars and cents that you round up when you go get gas or whatever, that's essentially what they're doing.
Right.
And people then invest that money and they make money on that money that they didn't even know they were not going to have anyway. Imagine if you did the same thing.
Yeah, I used to use one of those apps that used to round it up and then put it in my savings. I don't anymore.
Yeah.
They still
So this is
exist?
a way that you can reverse engineer that.
Yep. All right. That's major food for thought between now and when I start getting paid in January.
There you go. And there are little mental things that you can change in your budgeting and in your planning, but it all starts with having a plan. If you don't have a plan, if you don't sit down and you make that plan, it's harder for you to see the forest through the trees.
Right. And how do you recommend somebody execute that plan? I mean, is it written down? I mean, how do you help somebody? Because it's one, like, how do you help people execute the plan?
So executing the plan is first you sit down and you create it, right? Which I can help you with, or if you're going to create your own, that's, your prerogative, but sit down and make a plan and then have that plan in front of you, and executing on the plan is setting up automatic things like putting
Yep.
the money straight into the savings, knowing how much you can easily carve off the top, right? Knowing what your expenses are, knowing what the outflow is going to be, so you can automatically have things that are transferring out to other accounts, but you still don't feel like you've tightened the belt so much that you have to go and get money from places.
Right.
You should have a little bit of a buffer in case things happen, but you should have an easy way to just automatically fund specific accounts.
Right.
Right.
So
And
what's
so you
the
make it automatic.
What's your advice for someone like me, or someone who's a real estate agent or a lender, or almost any small business owner, right? Our paychecks aren't the same every month,
It's true.
right? So for me, the challenge to set up automatics is like some of my clients, right, will pay later, or, hey, can you spot me this month? I'll pay 2 months next month. And I say yes. I'm a small business owner, right? However, I don't see and I say this out loud, and maybe there's a cure for this. However, setting up automatic payments doesn't work right now in my business because I get paid different times of the month. And sometimes I have to wait a couple months before somebody pays me, which is fine, but it's not 2 paychecks every month that's identical.
No, I get it. And fluctuating income is hard to plan for until you plan for it.
Okay.
Okay. So once again, I know that it's going to sound like I keep saying the same thing, but it comes down to knowing your expenses, knowing the outflow that's required. Once you have that, you have power.
Yeah.
If you know what the outflow is,
and that I
you
do
can
know.
plan.
I do know what my outflow is.
Then you can plan for it. And so, and this is, everyone's got a different story behind it. Everyone's got different emotions behind it. So I'm going to give the example of what I do. My paychecks, they also fluctuate.
Sure.
Right? My money comes in to a high yield savings account, which I have at a different bank than my other high yield savings account that I have for my personal. Right? So it's a business high yield savings account. Money comes in, high yield savings account, and then what I do, because it's in a high yield environment, it's fine to keep money in there, right? Because it's going to outpace inflation and taxes and everything.
Yeah, I think mine is like 3.9 right now.
Yeah, mine's at 4.2. So you've got your high yield saving environment, money comes in, and what you actually do is since that's in a high yield place, you can leave that money in there and not feel too bad that it's sitting there. Leave enough for you to have 3 to 6 months. As a small business owner, it should really be 6 months worth in there. That is your business savings. Think about that as your income protection for your employee. Who's your employee? Oh, wait, that's me.
That's me.
So I have income protection for 3 to 6 months of my income.
Right.
That now I set up automatic transfers to pay me every 2 weeks, regardless of how many commission checks are coming in, or how many paychecks I have coming in, or how many clients I have paying me that month. I should have 3 to 6 months worth of my pay in there, so I never have to worry about the ups and downs. I just pay myself.
Yeah. Yes, I am. Yes. Absolutely. Susan's got a question. Where are you finding these high yield savings account? Which, Susan, great question. Because I was just going to ask, because my high yield is through American Express and it's 3.9. Chris just said his is 4.2. Do you want to share? Is yours Chase or is that personal? Then I'm going to not.
Mine's SoFi.
SoFi.
I would suggest I just throw a link to a website that compares all the different high yield accounts that I can put in the comments under this video.
Yeah. Okay, great. That would be great. Because yes, and I can't make any major changes because of what's happening in my world, in the next couple months. But however, I do typically watch and see where the high yield savings, and at the time when I did the because American Express is all online and it's a savings account and it was the highest at the time. Obviously it's not the highest now, but I'm not in a position right now to go make changes.
Yeah. So, I mean, setting up something like that so that you're happy with the money being there, you're not stressed out about it losing its value, you put it in there. And what that means is you should also still have your personal emergency savings. But if you're a small business owner and you have 6 months of your income protected by that savings account, you can have a 3-month emergency savings account for your own personal life, because you don't need to have 6 months, because we suggest 6 months of savings for someone that owns their own small business. Right. If you're a W-2, we suggest at least 3 months. So your employer should have 6 months, and you are your own employer. So you have 6 months on the business side and you have 3 months on your personal side. There should be nothing that comes up that can catastrophically derail you at that point. Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm going to plug you is having somebody like you, or having you, not like you, but having you as someone to give advice. I value your advice. I used to have all my savings in a very low yield savings account. And then 2 years ago, you're like, Tanya, why isn't your savings in a high yield savings account kind of thing? Or you were talking about it. And I'm like, ooh, what am I doing or not doing? And I switched, and it's been at least 2 years that I've had my high yield savings account. And back then it was even higher, right? They've been coming down. But that was one of the biggest changes I made. That was huge. When I'm making hundreds of dollars a month for free on my high yield savings account. So, anybody who's listening, reach out to Chris and get some advice. I'm a business coach, and I'm still learning. And I'm not embarrassed to say that I'm still learning.
You should never be embarrassed to say that you're still learning, because no one knows everything, right? I don't know everything. Right. I'm constantly going and tapping on people's shoulders here at the office. Like I was having a conversation with someone today about how there's so many options. There's so many things. Like, I need to go and sit down and put my head down and research the different options that are available to these clients that I was just talking with, so that I can give them the best options possible to make sure that they can take the best advantage of their situation. And I'm like, I can give the general, here, this is what we should do. This is what we should do. But I know there's more options out there that I have to literally sit down, look at things, go ask people, and try and find more options for them so that I can isolate the best ones that they can then choose from.
Yeah. Well, and that's one of your superpowers, right? Doing the research is a superpower for you.
Yeah, I know. It's super exciting and it's fun to do. And there's so much that you can do that if you're not sitting down with someone and asking, what more can I do? Then you're just missing out.
Yep, I agree. Yep. And I ask you that question lots. And, I wish I'd done it more. However, now I've got your ear, or whatever that saying is.
Anytime.
And I trust you. I mean, I know how much you love research, and that is a superpower. So that's, I lean into your superpower for that. Yeah. It is not my superpower. That isn't, you're being polite, but you laughed at me, but it's okay. It isn't my superpower. Doing research and doing what you do is not my superpower. I have other superpowers that one's not one. So that's why I like to lean into you. And let me see. When Chris says 6 months of savings in our business account, hold on, Susan. Let me put it up there. Chris, can you see it?
Yep, I can see it. And I read it, and this is what I'm going to say. So your business expenses should be different from your personal expenses. And here's the biggest expense that your business will have is your salary. You've got to get out of the idea of I'm just transferring money to pay bills. You should have a salary, and your salary should include all of the things that you put in there, like all of your personal expenses plus any personal savings that you want to do. That's your salary, because imagine that you're getting paid by a W-2 employer. You base your expenses and your savings off of the salary that you get given. So that should be the only thing that you get for your personal side is your salary. And then you figure out everything on that side. Your business expenses, those are your salary plus any monthly expenses that you have to pay for your business.
Yeah.
So let's say like you have I'm just going to throw out a random scenario. You're a business owner, you own a coffee shop, right? You got to get food products, you got to pay your employees, you've got to pay the mortgage of the company or the rent of the building that your company rents. You've got to pay for electricity and utilities. You pay all of that. Those are your expenses for your business. You need to have 6 months of that taken care of. Now, you also have yourself as an employee. So part of that little bit of that expense is paying yourself. Then you have your money at home. You've still got to pay all your personal expenses.
Yep.
Right? So that salary has to cover that. But you're not just funneling $500 here, $1,000 there, $300 here to pay those expenses. You pay yourself your salary, deal with your expenses on the other side, and your business has its own expenses, which
Right.
is covering your salary and other stuff.
Right. Does that answer your question, Susan?
Hopefully it's yes.
Hopefully it's yes. And if anyone's listening and not commenting, it's totally okay. You can be a fly on the wall. We only know you're here if you comment. So if you're here and you have a question, please ask Chris a question before we say goodbye. Or afterwards, this will go to YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, and wherever you're listening from. So far, everybody's on Facebook right now who's listening. Ask Chris a question or find him on Facebook and, message him. Chris, do us a favor. Yes, you're going to put a link to the high yield and then put a link into how they can find you.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds good.
Yep. All right, everybody. Go have a great holiday. Have any questions for Chris or want to stop ostriching and start peeking right out from under the sand? Chris is the person to go talk to. Or if there's some coaching questions and some fear or discomfort somewhere, I'll sign up for that piece.
I will say this before we get off of here. If you're someone that has been wanting to plan and hasn't planned, I'm the person to turn to. If you're someone that knows they need to plan but is having trouble pressing the start button, you need to talk to Tanya. You need to get on the phone and make sure that she can help guide you to take the next step. And then I'll be there to help you when you are ready to do it.
Yeah. Teamwork makes the dream work, Chris.
Exactly. Everyone needs a coach.
Yep. Well, my business expense as a non-negotiable business expense, because I have some expenses that, okay, do I want to, pay somebody to help me write something? But my non-negotiables, like my mortgage, is my coach. So I put my money where my mouth is I have a coach, and that is a non-negotiable business expense.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So you want to make one last comment to Susan before we say Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, all that kind of good stuff?
I'm reading her comment right now.
Yeah.
So I love that you had that realization. You said that it's a new way to think about it. And I really I love what you said, pay business expenses, pay personal expenses. And if I have any left, that's for me. Just remember, you are the reason that those things happen. You can't pay for your expenses if you're not taken care of. So the first person that I would take care of would be me. And then I would take care of all the other things. So if there's not the ability to save for yourself, I would prioritize saving for yourself, because the wheels fall off the bus if you're not around.
Yep. Of course, I went right to, sorry, the wheels on the bus go round and round, but that's because there's babies in my life now, in your life. Susan, thank you for asking these questions. And Susan, thank you. And AB, thank you for asking questions and being brave, to ask the questions.
Yeah.
So I commend you for the bravery of asking.
Yeah. I appreciate you guys chiming in and interacting with us. It makes it more fun.
It does make it more fun. So thank you. All right. Go have a great holiday. It's going to be a busy weekend out there as we're grocery shopping and all that kind of good stuff. Hopefully most of us are done with Christmas shopping. And mind your budgets. Any last parting advice on your end?
Remember that if you plan, maybe you're feeling a little stretched thin right now for the holidays, but take any pain that you feel this year and plan for it for next year, because now should not be the time that you're worried about budgeting and planning. It should be the time that you're enjoying, because it's the time that you're spending with family and with friends, and you don't want to have that looming over you. So plan for the higher expenses in December so that you can just enjoy and live in the moment rather than worrying about the future. And then when you have your plan set up, it just allows you to truly connect with the ones that you love.
Yeah. I love that. That's it. Live in the moment right now.
Yeah.
We've got time.
Enjoy your time.
Yeah. Enjoy your time. All right, everybody. Bye. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah. Have a wonderful